So thank you everybody for showing up to this October 31st Thursday session of, oh, here we go, Denise. Thursday session of Field Notes and LegalShield webinar that we do. This is our group discussion. However, I mean, if you guys had, questions about whatever, I'm always here to answer. So what was I gonna say? Don't really have much to talk about. Trying to think of maybe I got something coming down the pipeline. I don't know if you guys are going to like it too much, but I think you guys, I'm trying to do some stuff with the views to make it more, to make subfolders to the views, to actually give kind of like a folders kind of view of it. So like if you had things that were all related to group accounts, different types of reports, views that you would create, and it was all, let's say, group oriented, you could have a group main folder, and then you could have all of your whatchamacallit, all your views related to group stuff in that folder so that it just doesn't mix with all of your views. And so I'll kind of show you what I kind of have coming down the pipe. Let me log our little test situation. And then I'm also trying to do something with the spheres as well, because I feel that sometimes you can get to so many categories with spheres. And then I find people, in order to organize it, you have to do kind of some coding in the sense of, let me share this screen. All right. So like with these, you see how you just get so much folders, so much little
Jeremy,
reports.
because we have some new people, why don't you explain like what a view is and how you create it before we get into how to organize all the I
Well,
mean, I understand what you're getting at, but you might want to just do a little preamble here to help everybody
sure.
understand what views are and whatnot.
Now that you bring that up, also, anybody who is new, I think I have sent some replies back to some emails, and there is in my signature a place where you guys can book some time so that you can have your own little personal demo if you wish. And then I can, you know, fully evacuate all your doubts about how the CRM works and specifics of what you're looking for. So please, when you guys have some time, follow up with those emails and definitely book some time. But okay, so in our CRM, which is basically all contacts area. So this is where all your contacts will live. And of course, you can, open up the view to see 200 at a time. You can change a lot of views so that you can see specific information from like a bird's eye view. And you have filters. So based on all of these categories that we have, right? Name, address, city, state. If you have data in these fields, you can filter. And by filtering, let me close that thing. And by filtering, you then can create yourself reports. So, like with this all contacts report that I have, it's basically all my data, but it's going to give me custom columns at the top that I usually want to have. And so instead of always having to go in and reset your columns and then begin to view your data, you can just basically save yourself a view with all your columns. It doesn't have any filters applied, so that's not what I'm looking for. I just want to have visible information. And so with this one, email sent, I got address, phone number, emails, all at kind of like a bird's eye view so that I don't have to spend as much time going into each one of these accounts and having to view the information. I can just kind of see it on top. And so what I'm talking about is basically organizing this in a way in which you could have all of these types of folders, right? Which these are like open enrollment ones, open enrollment, right? So let's say instead of having all of your open enrollment in mixed into all these different views, and then God forbid that you don't use these kind of front letter kind of coding, which is abbreviation for open enrollment. So everything that is open enrollment, you would do a OE kind of tag and in the month, but that could just be with just open enrollment, you could have 12, right? And then you would have 12 things, 12 views within this list. So what I'm looking to do is to where you guys can create these folders and associate these views so that when you're looking at group things, you can just pull out your group views and then you can have everything related to group, your prospecting groups, your servicing groups, right? You can all have it under one little folder, Or if you wanted to break up prospecting, you could break up prospecting. And so then there you could have all your views related to prospecting. You could have all your servicing related to that one folder. So hopefully it allows you to just organize a little bit better. And so that's something that I'm trying to get developed. And then with the spheres, that's another thing that I find when we look at these options. For some people, it's like I don't have much here, but for some people, you see how these ones have LegalShield, HBS. So they use these tags LS so that it groups. So like when you see your little groups of options, you have it in this kind of like chunk of information. So if you had different products, like this is LegalShield stuff, but let's say you had insurance, so you could use INS space and then whatever. And so then when you come to INS stuff, you would see it all just kind of grouped. So that's another thing I'm trying to do so that it just makes things easier for you guys to stay organized. I see a lot of people with the same, I see spheres in both plans offered chosen and in spheres, the same categories. And then I also see things like in referral source, and it does the same thing. And so that'll be a little bit counterproductive, right? Having multiple different categories within the system that is tracking the same kind of information. So you're most likely going to use the variation of all three and not really notice it. And when you come to use your filters, it's not going to give you correct data, right? It'll give you a portion unless you know these are all the methods that I use to track it. And so you would have to keep that in mind, which I just think that that would be a little more difficult. And so that's just something that I'm playing around with. I do hear talks of the website. I don't know if it's end of this month or end of next month that they plan on switching over. I heard that they did make a switch when it came to LegalShield at work, but then they found a bunch of boo-boos and then they had to move open it back up. And so I don't want to obviously move until things are stable in that kind of sense. So I hear some good news with that. Hopefully it stabilizes and then we can kind of fully vet out the little wizards that we have for uploading data, which is going to make your guys's days hopefully that much less stressful. But I don't know. Do you guys have any topics that you guys would like to talk about in regards to end of the year kind of stuff that you guys are looking to achieve and get done?
Just to give you an update, Jeremy, on the Shield at Work stuff.
Yeah.
They did not pull it back. They basically are running what they're doing, and I think it was mostly at the request of the field, is they're running both systems parallel in between now and the end of the year. So it's live, it's active, it's rolling out. Anybody that wants to use it can use it now. They're past the beta test. Okay. And they're adding features to it, but it's live. So I don't think they're going to roll it out to clients necessarily, maybe until next year, unless there's maybe some special need. But right now, both systems are parallel in between now and the end of the year.
All right. Well, I guess maybe we can take that offline to see what might be the best thing to do. Because what I don't want is pulling. Now, do you remember how the old Shield at Work had the data shifted over? You remember that, Cassie? And we kind of had to go in there and add a couple of cells to kind of push the data so that it would align appropriately with dates and text fields. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Is that still going on in the old one opposed to the new one? I remember you mentioned that that was fixed, like it now shows up in the correct slot.
We can get some time and look at it. So I would prefer we check it before.
Yeah.
No. You do anything. Yep.
Totally. So yeah, but all right. Well, that's good to know. You know, that little by little, the little engine will do or could. So yeah. So besides that, do you guys have any things that you guys, any challenges lately with your guys' workload?
What I would appreciate seeing today, if nobody else has something, is if you would show us how to walk us through the thought process of setting up an action plan.
Sure, I can definitely do.
Yeah.
So for the people that don't know what action plans, there's many different names for these action plans. drip campaigns. What else? We call them action plans. You can find them in the Thunderbolt. You can also, once you have action plans, you can use them from here. And just by hitting this little button and selecting multiple contacts, you can do and activate action plans. But where you create them is over here. And we select action plans and it takes you to where they all can live. I would suggest having some organization with this because as you can see with me, I think I just have, okay, we got a couple of folders. But with this one, you got them all here. And you can see that there's this LegalShield opportunity campaign. There's a member retention. I think this lead conversation one is a real estate one, if I remember from old school. So this one isn't, activities, but you don't see them. All right. We'll leave that one alone. But this is where you have them all. This is the default folder. You can create multiple different folders. So if you wanted to have like your nurturing type of action plans, marketing, your lead generation, right? Or for you guys, your retention, your holidays. I think there's the member, what is it? When they first start up, it's the member
retention.
Onboarding.
Member retention. Yeah, onboarding, all of those. It just depends on how you guys label it and right. But definitely by creating folders, right? So just putting in the name of the folder and saving it is going to show in this drop down. And then when you create a new action plan, you have the opportunity to select what folder it's going to go to. Now, if you forgot, you can always come back to editing the basics and make this little adjustment so that it shows up. So whether if you remember or forget, it's not going to hurt anything other than it will just leave it in the default folder. So if you can't find it, most likely that's the case. So probably just step back and take a look at that. So with this little new action plan, it'll take you where you can create an action plan. So really it just depends on what you want to create this action plan for. So does anybody have an idea of like one that they would want? And then we can kind of try to.
Right. For an easy one for the newbies, Jeremy, just birthdays would be a great one because everybody can use that.
Perfect. So let's say happy birthday. Whoops, sorry, I don't know how to spell today. Birthday. And let's just say email, right? If you wanted to do text message, you can mix them. So you can do emails and text messaging. But, well, let me also show you some other things in the beginning of this one. So when creating the action plan, you get a couple of options. You can choose the folder, the name, and you can have a description. So if you have maybe like a VA, you can put in a description of like what this action plan is for. That way, if the title doesn't fully explain it, then maybe you can put some extra stuff into the description to help people understand what it is for. Sending a notification email on completion. So if you want to know when this gets completed, you can basically check this for every person that you use this action plan on. When it completes, it will send you an email. So be careful with that. Most likely I've seen people do it once and never do it again. And they tell me, what the hell did I do, Jeremy? I've got all these emails and it's a problem. So definitely, I mean, if you want to know, because what you then need to do is either do a follow-up with them or you want to do some other type of action plan. So what you want to do is be notified. There you go. But then again, it's going to cause a lot of emails to go to you. Pause on response. This is for text messages. So if you put in text messages, if you weave text messages within the activities, if any of those text messages gets a reply and you have this checked, it will pause the action plan. Does anybody know why you would want to have that? Can anybody think of that? Like what would be the reason?
Well, if you've got an action plan that is trying to bring somebody in as an associate or a member or whatever it happens to be, and it's a regular track of multiple emails, once they respond, you don't necessarily want them to get the next drip. You would rather respond to them and find out what's going on rather than let that just keep running, because then at some point they're going to figure out this is just an automatic thing and there isn't a person behind it.
Ding, 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 but only text message. So if it was an email that they replied to, that would go to your inbox. You would have to come to the action plan and pause it if you wish to stop it, because the email will, it won't, it won't pause it. This is strictly if you weave text messages within it. So if they do reply to the text message, then yes, it will pause it, right? But for the same reason. And you would most likely build this to where those text messages are like in the form of a question in which you are waiting for a reply. So if they do reply to it, it pauses it. So you have that additional setting to keep in mind. So this really, you have the action plan has to be, if it's an information action plan, I wouldn't have any type of pause on anything, because the way that the emails are worded is to just basically share that information with you. You could have a call to action, but that could be dealt with like go to my Calendly link, set up time with me there, that kind of thing. So it's not something that you need to have it paused, right? So keep that in mind. The other option here is hide on the timeline. People have mentioned, Jeremy, I've got this person from years and I've got like multiple campaigns. And when you go to his account, what you're going to find out is you've got all those campaigns sitting in his notes, mixed in with meeting notes, mixed in with all of the things like personal emails that you've sent, things like that. It's all going to just be mixed in. So if these are action plan that with just you knowing what action plan is being used on the customer, you don't really need to kind of explore every activity that that action plan has, nor have it kind of visible to his contact. You would check this, and what it will do is just hide it from the timeline. So it just kind of less bogged down that customer's account, so that you can just maybe just look at the notes and maybe the personal emails that you've sent to them. So these are that you can, if you are using these little tags, right? But this is only for you. This doesn't do anything for anybody else. This is just so that if you wanted to search your LegalShield, you could search this tag.
Hey, Jeremy,
Yeah.
as we're thinking about action plans, I'd like to get your feedback or see if you know any industry standards, because I find myself opting out of campaigns from, companies and places I do business, because I'm just bombarded every single day with a message from them. And it's like, love your products, but like, I don't need to hear about vitamins every single day or whatever it is, right? And it's
Mhm.
just like, oh my gosh. So it's like, what is that fine line where, like, one, how frequently should we be contacting people? And kind of what do you think the spacing should be? And, there's kind of a startup, maybe you can do a few more touches a little bit more often, but then over time, what's a good pace to engage with people in a way that you're helpful and not annoying?
So it's funny that you say that, right? Because I would have assumed the same, right? If I'm sending out consistent things, I might be pissing people off, right? And get them to unsubscribe. George Ursioli had mentioned to me that he was partaking in some marketing kind of webinar class that I think he was taking. And he gave me a stat that they stated, and they gave him, they they asked him a question essentially, like, what would he think? What do you think that causes more people to opt out of a campaign? Daily, consistent emails and notifications, or periodic, like spread them out over a week, once every 3 days, once every 4 days, once a week, that kind of thing. So I was like, obviously thinking every day is a nuisance, right? And he was like, nope, based on what they had worth of marketing data, they find people would less opt out knowing, or by getting everyday kind of notifications or emails or text messages about their product or whatever. So kind of curious to hear that that's what your experience is. And every once in a while, if I get emails, I don't pay attention to half of that stuff. I'll just go through and just, search unsubscribe in my email and just start, mass unsubscribing to stuff that I have nothing. But I will tell you, if I am, so I go out and I see a lot of like AI companies and a lot of like new kind of different services and things like that. So what I do is I affiliate like with them, sign up for the free stuff, And I kind of like that they're consistently sending me stuff just so that I can kind of just know what's going on, right? So there's a little, there's a little iffy on that. So really, what I would do is try to pay attention to the stats that you're getting from your data. And we also have a category for some people, they've utilized them with some like Chip. Chip calls this something else. He uses this for like his sales flow. But this is intended for preferred communication style. So what if you track that through here, how people would like to get communications, right? And it's really hard because I don't know how many conversations you have with people, but maybe in your first, email, or if you have like when like they're first coming on, maybe something to bubble in, what is your preferred communication style and how many times? Like, do you only want to get information for updating about product, like the product that they have, updates about their product or their service, or would you like to know about like I know when you opt into some things, like to some of these companies, they'll tell you, do you want to get marketing emails? And you can kind of check yes or no, right? So it would be good if you guys had some way of capturing that prior to, and then that way utilize that. And then you could utilize these in your triggers for these action plans. So that would be a thought. There is industry standards for touches. Has anybody heard of that? Right. So like for real estate, I think it's anywhere like above 16 to 20 touches to get to get some type of engagement from a real estate lead. So now I have heard some other people in real estate focusing more on probate, but based on their stats, they're seeing that right around 7 to 10 touches is getting people to do something, is getting people to either send them an email like stop, don't want to talk to you, stuff like that. Obviously, it's probate, so it's linked to kind of like a death in the family or somebody's estate passing hands, and so usually there's a lot of negative in the beginning because they either think they can figure it out. But so he notices with his system and his type of outreach, he's getting people within 7 to 10 touches. So I would try to pay close attention to that, right? By looking at the analytics that we do get with email sent, things like that. You can also go to these action plans and look at the stats to kind of see how people are opening these things up and the consumption of it. So that should give you some type of your industry standard, like what you find people responding to your stuff. So
Where do you see that for a campaign or a communication?
like the analytics of it.
Yeah.
That is, it's within the action plan. Let me see if I don't think I have anyone that has been used. I don't, but it's warnings and statistics. So statistics will show you, and then it'll give you kind of like the timeline of what goes out, the days that it goes out, and then how many people open, and it'll track emails and text messages.
Okay. Maybe I'll just ask Kathy to show me because I know she
She
uses
uses
a
it.
lot of campaigns and it'd
Well,
be interesting to
if you
see
go to
that.
if you go to some of your action plans, it'll most likely just be right in front of you. So like if you're for the current week, it's going to show you whatever action plans have been sent out during that week. And then I guess if you wanted to do month to date, last month and 3 months, if it's an old year worth of an action plan, then you can
You
kind of
can
get
see that.
a
Okay.
little bit
All right.
more data. But this would be where you could track some of that kind of stuff. But then again, you can also track some of that in all contacts by looking at the email sent and text messages sent and just kind of
Yeah,
get an idea.
I just think about myself and then I'm thinking, well, I don't know that I'm a good benchmark. I don't think I'm normal. So anyway, that's a whole other subject.
Well, I'm gonna not answer that question whether if you're normal or not, because let's say you are special.
Yes.
You have a special place in our hearts.
Yes, I know that. That's why
So
I'm not using myself as a benchmark.
no, but it is good things to look at, right? And then again, if you also guys don't know about these reports, right? I would definitely look into these reports because these reports do help you look at the engagement. So let's say you started, like, let's say you've never used Action Plan. Your engagement is going to be blah, right? Most likely not too much. But once you start using action plans, you're going to see your engagement just start to climb because The action plans are the ones that, send out emails and send out text messages, and people will engage based on that kind of stuff. And those reports will show you like when you have good months, when you have low months, and if you're tracking it with the types of action plans that you have and when you start using them and when you don't start using them, you'll see, you'll that these reports will then start to speak to you about engagement, about all that kind of stuff. So if you don't know, but you would like, I would just say set up some time with me and we can kind of look at your situation personally to see what kind of engagement you're doing. And I can read into these reports a little bit more, but you've got to start somewhere. So a good thing is if you haven't looked at them, let's look at them so that we can see like you doing nothing or you doing what you currently are doing, what kind of engagement you're getting. And then let's see what we can put into place to kind of get those numbers up. And then you'll start to see, wow, you've got more engagement, more leads are signing up. You can look at what months are your heavy months of leads going into your system. So if you wanted to plan a vacation and say, well, in March, I don't do much. It's kind of like a low month for me. Hey, take some time out then, right? So going back to the action plan and building your activities, that is essentially, so since this one is a happy birthday email, I don't want to say this is easy, but it's relatively easy. And now what you need to decide on is what do you want to do? Because I've seen, I had one real estate agent say to me, I don't want to send out an email. I don't want to send out a text message. I just need to know 10 days in advance. So that would be set up an appointment. So 10 days in advance, essentially, we're going to say, send a birthday card. She has a box of cards. I don't know. She said that she buys like a big old Hallmark batch of birthday cards. She basically pulls one out, writes a nice little hand message, gets the address on it, goes down to the mailbox. She says that if she can be notified 10 days in advance through snail mail, it usually gets there a day before or after that person's birthday, depending on what city they're in. So she loves it. She says that she gets a lot of people calling her back, thanking her for the birthday card, and that's how she wants to do that, right? So I would say all day reminder would be best for this so that it's not a specific time unless you wanted to have a specific time. But then again, if you didn't attend to it, you could forget about it, right? So that would be a no bueno. So I would most likely do for an all day so that you have that all day as a reminder to get that done. You can set up the scheduling. So with this one, we would just leave the trigger to be basically now, right? And you just would hit save. Do I have to put a 0? Ta-da. So once this is triggered, and we can talk about the trigger next, this would start out. It has 0 days between the days of the trigger. So when this is triggered, this sends out that message, well, the appointment. And if you have your calendar linked, it will then put that on your calendar in Fieldnotes and in the one that you sign up, whether if it's Microsoft or Google. And so hopefully you have your notifications there so that you can see this go out. So that's if you wanted to do something personal, right? So this could also be send the birthday card or call the person, right? So you could have a reminder to make a physical call. But let's say you wanted to send out an email. You could obviously build it in your templates, and then you can actually pull it from your templates. And I don't know if we have anything for birthday holidays. Oh, we do. Happy holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Okay, so we don't have a birthday, but let's just use this Thanksgiving one. So this is the Happy Thanksgiving, but this graphic can be changed and utilized, right? You can change these graphics out just by copy pasting using snipping tool. You can get things from Canva, right? Use them in this. You can obviously switch out the wording, use smart tags so that it imports the person's name. You can use your signature. You can place your signature in here physically, or you can just pull it from your own signature saved to the system. You can basically style this any which way that you want. I don't suggest attaching any files to it. So I would try to embed as much as possible into these emails, and only if you're sending information to people that like need the PDF, and they know that they're getting it, would I send it? Because if they don't, and you just mass send out stuff with attachments, it could get it could be seen as malicious, and so it goes to maybe spam or has like a little warning, something about, hey, watch out, make sure that you really want this email, that kind of thing. So I like to embed as much as I can within the email, so avoid that and possibly maybe hyperlink to the PDF. That's also a workaround, and that way there's nothing attached to it, yet they can still click a link and still access stuff. So that's what I would do when it comes to, importing the message. I would definitely build in templates and then pull it from your templates. I don't know if I have any. Yep. So now that you've kind of decided of the email and what it's going to look like and that kind of stuff, now you can essentially, right, if you wanted to send it once the trigger, so if it's based off of his birthday, right, you can send it immediately once it's triggered, or you can have it. I don't know why you would want to deliver it late, so that probably wouldn't what you would want to do, but you could do that if you would, right? So you would hit save, and now what you have is the email, and you have this appointment. But if I wanted to delete this and not have a reminder, that's okay. Just leave the email. And if you wanted to do a text message, same protocol. Oh, I know why it's not letting me do a text message, because I don't have a text number set up, if I'm correct. Yep, that's why. So, but it's going to give you the same type of view when you do the email. You can go to the top, pull any of your text message templates. So if you have a happy birthday message, you could use that. And then you will then have another line here for the text message, and it gives you the same capability to decide what's the trigger. And then you'll have some, another activity numbered, and it would say text message, SMS. So if you wanted an email to go out and a text message, you could have them both, right, set to 0, so that when you set up the trigger, they'll both immediately go out, and they'll get an email and they'll get a text message. If that's too much, that's too much. You can decide one or the other. And then I don't think you might want to use change property, but that is part of action plans, which is change one of these fields, right? So you've got a bunch of these categories. Categories that you can change from are, let's say you had some type of additional sphere that you wanted to add for whatever reason, you could use change properties. And by this being sent and having it as an activity, it could add a specific sphere. And with that, it could also be linked to another action plan, or it can be just labeled to a sphere that is, linked to a view. You could really kind of play around with that logic. So like, doesn't really kind of play out for a birthday, but let's say it was like a prospecting kind of action plan. And let's say they get all the communications, but they don't do anything, right? You could have at the end of it, add another sphere, and that sphere could be added to a whole different action plan. And let's say that next action plan, since these people basically didn't engage with the first action plan, and let's say that first action plan was 3 to 6 months long, then you could have another sphere get added to the customer's account, which is linked to another action plan, which would then have another series of activities trying to whether just drip on the person on some of the products, kind of, just share details about LegalShield and the types of products that we offer, in hopes something at some point in the future resonates with them. And then they have all those different emails from you. They can just pick one up and say, hey, I'd like to talk about the small business plan that you emailed me about. And then obviously take that conversation and hopefully close them. So
can you have you have multiple action plans going on? Because like one of the things Kathy and I are going to be, working on redoing the action plan for group members,
okay.
The retention, or, once they become a member. So we're going to be looking at that and planning that out next year. And then I was thinking, well, gosh, because we have National Will Month and communications that go out in August. And I was thinking, oh, we should bake that into the plan. And I'm like, well, that doesn't work, because it's really based on, some members might become a member in July, and then there's the National Will Month in August, right? And then there's Cyber Month in October. And, so I'm sitting here thinking, well, I don't think we can bake that into the action plan because everybody becomes members at different times, right? I mean, we do have a lot of members that start kind of 1/1, but at the same time, it's like not everybody starts 1/1. And so then I was like, okay, can I have multiple action plans going on with a member? So if I have an action plan that's kind of a 12-month action plan where they're going to get a monthly communication encouraging them to use some part of their plan.
Right.
And then we have a special event that comes up and we're going to
Like the
do
seasonal stuff.
right. I mean, can we layer that on top?
Yes.
How do we do that? So we can do multiple with like, if you're my member, I started an action plan in January with you, but then I want to add an extra action plan in August and October, I can still go ahead and do that.
Yes. So with this feature of changing properties, I don't know if you guys remember, this existed back when, right, in the beginning, but when we went to the new UI, the developers just removed it. Did anybody catch on to that?
No.
They didn't.
I didn't.
They removed it from the option, and I was like, what, why? Because I like that because you can then piggyback action plans. So if somebody's never engaging with you, you could just have, a 3-month action plan, which does a real strong push to kind of get the person to, sign up now, right? But let's say they don't even engage. So at the end of that 3-month one, you set up another 6-month one or another yearly long one that you don't even have to think about. It's just now just promoting all the different services, and it goes for 9 months, 12 months, whatever you design it to go out. And then you basically set it and forget it. And now you know that you have an action plan to prospect these people within the first 3 months. And then if not, they go on a drip campaign for another 12 months. And hopefully something in life says, you know what, you should have had this. And then all of those consistent emails that you've been sending to them ring the bell, and they're like, oh, let me call Cassie and sign myself up for this, or at least get more information to figure out how this is going to save me money, right? So
yeah.
I got them to put it back, but the reason why they took it away is because you guys could shoot yourselves in the foot. And how could you shoot you guys selves in the foot is if you don't realize that you do this, but you set these up, like you could really maliciously, right, set up action plans and then have a change property and then link it to another sphere and then link it to another sphere. And if, let's say you didn't do that, maybe with my help, so you kind of just did it on your own. Let's say you had it could create like an infinite circle of action plans to go on a person, which could seriously piss somebody off if you didn't really know what you were doing. And then it had like a bunch of multiple action plans on top of. So something to think about and to most likely mind map it so that you don't do that. But if you mind map it well, you could build a nice setup to where you start one action plan, and if they don't engage and turn into something, for a year and a half, they're going to be engaged.
Yeah.
So that could be something good, because then later on, through those different spheres, you can actually search those people and then have like a list. And then you could look at the analytics and say, okay, are these emails even getting to them? Are they even opening them? Well, here, let me call this person that's gotten 20 different emails from me, and let me just see if they pick up the phone, right? Let me see if it really is Juan Sanchez, or if it's just another person that, doesn't speak English. So they don't understand why they get all these phone numbers, right? So that's what I would do in that case. And that's how I would use the change property category. So that is a cool tool to use, right? That can definitely help you not have to micromanage yourself. And if you build it out well, you could have engagement go on for a pretty long time, right? So
yeah, I mean, in some of these systems, I mean, and I don't know why this is, maybe because I'm working on my CRM, so I'm more tuned into the messages I'm getting that I know are, sort of those auto messages. I keep getting these text messages about getting a mammogram done. And it's like, well, after you have a double mastectomy, you don't need a mammogram, right? So like I keep trying to figure out how to make these messages stop, because
right.
they keep trying to get me to schedule something that
you don't need.
like, right. And it's like, generally, that's great because they are trying to, help people with early detection and so it's like, I'm not upset about the message, but it's just like, I just keep getting this text message over and over again. And it's like, I finally had, because I tried responding, I tried going to the website and giving them feedback. And then I finally just had to break down and call somebody and say, like make it stop because you keep sending me these text messages and I'm never going to schedule because I can't, I don't do this anymore.
Right.
So anyway, the guy was like, "Oh, yeah, no, I get it." And so he was trying to figure out how to turn the system off. So it's like it can be very helpful and very productive, but it was like they're not going to stop sending me these text messages until I schedule a time. And it's like, well, I can't. So, we're stuck in this bad do loop. So anyway.
So a friend of mine, I'm I've been talking to him lately. He's got like a construction company in Seattle, Washington, and he's not ranking in Google My Business. He's got a couple of issues that he'd like to, that we were just talking about. And since this is something that I kind of see daily with the customers, the other customers that we have dealing with their Google My Business and things like that. So I went in and I started to Google like how to get your Google My Business ranking, and then how do you get your website to drive traffic. And one takeaway that I got away from this one guy from Facebook, he has a decent page and he puts out some really, really good content. And he says when he's doing these types of optimizations for Google My Business and for these websites for customers, he really focuses on the blog articles that he creates on behalf of these companies. And he has seen tremendous engagement when he puts himself in the shoes of the business and really comes up with an article that has some sustenance, that really says something to the customer, that is either teaching something. And so he uses a bunch of social tools to find out what the people are talking about and what's trending in the internet. Because if you can find out what's trending, create articles about what's trending, and then those articles are, they have good information and people are like, wow, this is helpful, right? It just skyrockets engagement to websites, Google My Pages. It just funnels in people like crazy, right? So the takeaway that I get is creating helpful material, stuff that they really can sink their teeth into, something that's step by step. Click this is your number, take that, do this, download that app, right? Really think about, am I putting out something that's just fluff, or does it really help somebody that just purchased a small business plan? Like, what are the things? I would assume you guys would know what's the best thing that they should be looking at, how they should be using it, right? Suggesting things that get them to really get the benefit from it, because, well, that's what I kind of do with you guys, right? Is I try to tie this product into you and get you to use action plans so you can see what the benefit of using action plans, what the benefit of having templates already saved and ready to go, how to look at your data, whether if you're using it for prospecting or whether if you're using it for servicing. Like, how do I, get the most out of my CRM? I try to focus on that because I know if I can get you addicted to action plans, if I can get you addicted to using this for prospecting and you see the benefit from it, then I don't have to engage you, right? I don't have to cattle prod you to, hey, are you using your system? You're like coming back to me with saying, oh, hey, Jeremy, I did an action plan, but I don't think it's going correctly. You know what I mean? And then I'll look in there, and most likely with just me looking at it, I'll be like, all right, what do you want to do with it? This is how it's going to go. And then, since I can see people's accounts, I'll just go in there, make changes and be like, just monitor it and make sure that it, fires the way that you want it to fire. And usually I would pretty much say I'm pretty much spot on when it comes to that. So content is king.
Yeah.
Chip learned the hard way. He grabbed a campaign straight out of Prospect, did not use any smart tags, literally did a copy paste, and then took out the like hello customer kind of thing. So it was just like a sentence just into the atmosphere. And then it had like those big breaks in between. So like the sentence was spaced with like two enters, and then there was the next phrase. So it looked ugly. It wasn't custom in any way, shape, or form. So it wasn't addressed to the person. Not a good email. And that's how he got picked off when he had like 9,000 people in that action plan that were like getting it periodically. So he could have at any point in time been sending out hundreds, if not thousands of emails, right? And because it was all the ugly same thing, they detected his spam real quick, and he's gone through like 2, 3 different emails just because he's burned them. You know what I mean? So that's not a good thing to do, right? Is to just copy paste whatever, dump it, and then start sending it. Unfortunately, that's not going to help. So really thinking out your activities, whether if it's an email, does the text message have a call to action? You really want to kind of think about it, and is this helpful? Would you open up this email? Would you like the information that's in it? You know what I mean? And then if you give it the green light, like, yeah, no, I really think this is helpful, then, utilize it. And if you can get any feedback, whether if it's how people are opening things, and what's also another good thing that you could try to monitor is if you send out one of these action plans and you see like recent dates that they've been interacting with it, but let's say you go back 6 months and you see a bunch of these membership emails, like the first emails to the member retention ones that explain download the app, this is your information, all of that kind of like helpful stuff in the beginning. Let's say you see somebody that's recently just opened that email or has recent dates. That means they went back to that email and opened, meaning they're most likely, maybe they didn't do what they were supposed to do way back when, and now they're doing it, right? So that's something I would say for you guys, it's a little bit difficult, right? Because if you would have to look at the customers and go in and kind of see this thing, but with the real estate people, when since they're prospecting and they need to kind of go in and see stuff, they can see things. Like, so Renee uses for closing, she has a bunch of things that the buyers or sellers need to do. So she has this one email that goes out. What she sees with that one email is people through the weeks that it takes to get to closing or to finish out the deal, they're opening up that email consistently throughout all of the time. Like throughout all of that time, they use it as a reference, as like a checklist. They're always going back to it, and she can see it because she sees new dates consistently throughout that time. And since it's people that she's working, she can just see that stuff. And that's what makes that's a good email. If you can see somebody that consistently referenced that email, I would focus and say, what did I do to this email that somebody continuously opens it, right? So if you could see that, let's say the person hasn't closed, yet you go back and you see, let's say on a prospecting, but yet you see a person has a bunch of recent dates when they've been consuming, these emails, might be a good time to give that person a call and say, hey, so I wouldn't mention anything that you see. I would just, use it as a moment to follow up with that person. Most likely they'll be close to their phone or they'll answer their phone, right? Because they've recently opened up an email. So building out content is huge. But to get back,
I'm sorry, but real quick, I think as important as the content, at least for me, is the subject line. I mean, if you don't capture them initially, if they don't find some interest in the email through that subject line, they're either going to ignore it or delete it.
You are correct. I was in Facebook and I saw this person talking about creating like a spectacular email. And I was like, every email that I get that is well thought out and well worded about trying to introduce some service to me, I just delete it. I could care how engaging it is, how eloquently, beautifully they worded the whole thing, and Dale Carnegie, Zig Ziglar, the hell out of it. I just see somebody solicit something to me that I have I'm not looking for leads. I'm not looking for VAs. I'm not looking for website developers, but people, I just delete it, right? And then within the other messages, somebody was like, you guys are thinking about all the emails and but what about the subject line? And that's a little bit of what you're saying, is have an engaging subject line that somebody is going to either want to open up the email, right? So do you guys find yourselves challenged to create those subject lines? Because if you find yourself challenged, right? What I do when it comes to creating subject lines is I take that email and I put it into ChatGPT and I say, give me 10 engaging subject lines for this email. And then I just go either pick from the 10 or the top three and somehow make a Franken subject and just kind of make them all into one and take the best parts of everything. And then bada bing, then I could take that, throw it back right into ChatGPT and be like, do you feel that this is a good subject line? And then see if it gives you any type of insight, right? And now that'll probably take you 5 minutes to do all that copy pasting and then picking one. And then you don't have to think too much about it. And when I've had that task and made ChatGPT do it, it usually spot on, right? Like it saves me at least 30 minutes staring at a sentence. You know what I mean? So if it can help me do that, get it done in 5, I would take that.
I actually have a tool that can help you with that. And I'm looking for the link because I attended a workshop, if you will. It was a virtual workshop, and the gal, one of the things they focused on was that subject line, and I'm looking for my notes. So as you guys have been talking, I've been trying to dig through and find my notes from the deal. I'll have to look and see if I can find it.
I save bookmarks, but look at my bookmarks. People think these are all the things that I've picked up from different websites and products and tools. It is a sea of stuff. People think like, where do you find it, Jeremy? And I'm like, I don't know. But that's what I use to kind of like, when I find something good, I just kind of dump it in the bookmark.
I did bookmark it, and now I'm trying to figure out, because I have subfolders in my bookmarks, and I'm like, oh God, which one did I put it in? So anyway, I'll see if I can find it, because I'll definitely share it with you. You're welcome to share it with everybody. But they kind of went through, some words that you should use that sort of, get people's attention. And
what I do a lot is
you can score it.
What I do is I use the smart tag for the name, because if I've opened up every email that I've gotten that has my name in the subject. So that's something that I've done, is smart tag the person's name into it. Like, hey John, da 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 da, right? So I've found that it's helpful, but that's just something I did out of the nothing, is smart tag some things in here. So that's also if you had like a company name or an engaging, subject line that also incorporates some of the fields so that it pulls that data and makes it, let's just say, that much more special to that person. That could also be a good thing, because every subject line could be different for everybody, right? And if you can do that, I think it would help with kind of, tailoring these to per person. And then almost every email has a little bit of dynamicness, and not everything is just cookie cutter, right? Because that's what gets them to detect stuff, is that cookie cutter type. But that would be good to see what kind of tool you're using and share it with others so that they at least don't have challenges. But Deborah, thank you for bringing up on the subject. I do definitely think the subject. So content, subject.
So Jeremy, just to share with everybody, they shared 180 power words for writing emotional headlines. And then there's a website that you can go, so write your headline or your, subject line for your email. And then you can go to this website and you can have them score your headline. And you want to get a 50% or higher on it. And so what I try to do is I try to look at this list of 180 power words, improved, tested, special, professional, guaranteed, simplistic, powerful. I'm just reading you some of them: expert, unique, informative, easily, full, reliable, terrific, simplified, unparalleled, now. This is a now benefit, right? Useful. So I went through and I highlighted some of the ones: security, proven, special offer, tremendous. Okay, so those are some of the ones I highlighted out of the 180. But then once I write my headline or my subject line, I go to the website and I check it to see how did I score. And I'm looking to score 50% or higher.
You can also do that with email checkers. They'll actually give you like a spam rating on how much they feel that your email could be detected by spam.
Okay.
So there's a plethora of tools for people to, but obviously if people have a challenge just using a CRM and then you say, well, just use AI, they're going to be like, what are you talking about? It's not that simple. You know what I mean? It has a little bit more, for some people, it's not that simple. So I do, obviously, depending on the person and how technical they are, do I suggest these little things but I have just asked people, do you use ChatGPT? And they're like, no. And I'm like, all right, go to ChatGPT, sign up. Takes like a minute. They get a text, they're in. And then I try to just show them, whatever we're trying to do. And that usually gets the ball rolling. And then one thing that I've done is I've been playing around with a lot of ChatGPT, like just having fun with it. Like my wife, she's a fan of Conor McGregor. So I found this website that'll take my face and put it on any photo. And then so I got a bunch of like Conor McGregor pumping weights and that kind of stuff. And then I put my face over it. And then I sent my wife these photos. And she was like, oh my God, you have too much time on your hands. And I was just like, oh, that's kind of cool. So, it helped me utilize the tool and to kind of, but I did it through play. So that's what I would do is just play around with it. And if you get good through play, you'll most likely be able to reproduce it and do something work related. So
I just sent you the
link.
The link in an email. So if you want to put it in the chat for everybody, because I'm on my phone. But I found it, and so that's a resource if you're like me, because it's like once I do something, I think sometimes we look at our headlines and what we do, and we're thinking like, oh, this is great. And then you put it in the analyzer, and it's like, oh, it's great to us in our little LegalShield world, right? But I do agree, Jeremy, using the name of their company or their name, by using our smart tags is, definitely something that everybody's in love with their own name, right? So that's definitely, that's a tried and true sort of thing. But then, if the headline subject line, if you will, analyzer can help you, that's, it's a free resource. So yeah.
No, you got to, because nowadays they're doing everything in their power to block these messages to go out to people. So if it's not engaging, they don't open it. And let's say they delete it immediately, or they mark it as spam, or they do any of that kind of stuff, your email rating just goes into the trash. And let's say you're doing that on a scale of hundreds. Just imagine how quickly you could, trash can your email. But it's not like with just a couple of bad emails you're going to get blocked and that kind of stuff, but it just doesn't help. So you got to really kind of do your best to kind of think about it. And I have no problem, kicking that can with any of you guys. If you have any questions or what would I do, that kind of thing, feel free to, bother me, set up a meeting, and let's discuss it. Because if I don't help you, then you're most likely going to do what Chip did. And when I saw those emails, I was like, damn, Chip, this was, if you would have showed me, I would have seen that straight from the beginning, and I would have told you this is a no. And I think I maybe even said it. He just ran with it. And so since supervision is limited sometimes.
Well, I think the reason that, and just to give you some perspective, I think the reason that people run with what's in prospect and just think that, okay, this is good, is corporate kind of presents it as that, we've developed and tested these messages, and the content may be okay within the framework of prospect, but there are some other things going on there that, when you just take the content out, it may not look like it's formatted correctly. I mean, there's just more to it. Yeah. And, we're not all super techie. So, we're not even realizing we don't know what we don't know, right? So we're taking the content and running with it, thinking that that's the secret sauce, but there's more to it than that. So
yeah.
that's where I think we can sometimes be lulled into a false sense of security, pulling something out of prospect and thinking, oh, this is the magic formula that I need to use, and missing some important nuances. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to take it for a grain of salt. There's a lot of stuff because I've actually been into Prospect and I've seen the material that's there. There's a lot of good
Mhm.
stuff, but you have to understand you gotta read into what they're trying to do, and then you gotta try to replicate that within your own system. And that's gonna require you to style it, to address it, smart tag it, really do all of
Right,
that extra work that they've thought out, right? But they did it in their system. Now you
right.
need to make that next step. So if you think it's a copy paste, then that's probably the biggest mistake that you made. Copy paste is just like the first step. After that, you got a whole bunch of stuff to do for it to be polished and to come out like a real good, nice product. But to essentially kind of sum up the action plan building, once you've decided what kind of activities and if there is any type of internal triggers in which you want this to, right, go out, essentially, once that's been decided and done, now you just really need to kind of pick what kind of trigger you're going to use. So to give you a quick synopsis of what are the options, we've got select individual contacts. This is telling you if you want to, if you're going to pick max up to 300 contacts. So let's say you have a list of 1,000 people. This is going to help disperse the action plan amongst those people with 300 contacts at a time, right? That way you don't have 900 text messages going out or 1,000 text messages going out on a specific day. And for the majority of a lot of people's emails, that's like a threshold of about 1,000 emails per day is what some of these places would like for you to keep it at. And if you start pushing the envelope, then obviously you get into the spamming kind of category. So this is what this is for, right? So if you wanted to lower it, keep it 300, right? That's up to you. But I think it's best to kind of keep it in mind, like how much. And then this takes you to what all contacts looks like, where you can go and filter and find the contacts that you want, and then you can send that action plan on. So this is the same view if you were here in all contacts and you did filter something, or if you filtered, let's say, your church group or any other group that you may have, you could select the view, highlight everybody once the data shows. Let's go data. Okay, so you could go here and select them all, and then you could do this, and then you have access to your action plan. So this method and this method of setting up the action plan, the first option is essentially the same thing. The only difference is you're doing it within the action plan, and the other method is doing it when you're just looking at your contact. So that is select individual contacts, right? Then, because this is a birthday one, we would most likely use the birth date, right? So we would select between all of the different dates that we have, we would select birthday. And then we have these intervals, is today or is in, right? So is in 10 days, right? That's what that lady would want. If we wanted this to go out every year, we could. Or if you wanted just to have this go out for 1 year, and then next year you'll come and you'll clone this one and then switch out the graphics and then basically trigger it again, right? Towards the end of the year, that's another way of skinning the cat. However, you'll have to think about this at the end of the year for every year, right? So this would be like your end of the year duty is kind of going through your action plans and figuring out which ones need to get touched up, right?
But Jeremy, can you clone that without going through that process? Can I have one that goes out yearly and just go in and change up the graphic without redoing all of this?
Yes.
Okay.
But you're just going to have to you're just going to have to do it in the moment, right? So this would be like a end of the year December kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then so you can go to your scheduled and you'll see the dates that this is ready to go out. Let's say you don't have anybody the 30 with what is December? Oh, they have a 31st on December. So let's say you don't have anybody in your system with the 31st birth, like with a birthday on the 31st, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could go in on the 31st switch out the graphic in the email, right? Just edit this and then have your graphic wherever, copy it, go here, and then just paste it in its place and then save it. Not touch anything, just switch out the photo and maybe just a different wish or just different wording, right?
Uh-huh.
You would then save it. The next time, so let's say in your schedule, the next birthday that you have coming up is like January 5th. By the time that this is scheduled to send that out, it'll pick up the new graphic, the new email.
Perfect. Thank you.
And then you don't have to, right? You can then set this frequency to yearly, and you can also search your contacts so that you can see what is, right? This is the trigger date. So do you see how the birth date is on the 16th?
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to trigger 10 days in advance.
Mm-hmm.
This tells you. So let's say you set this up this way and you don't see anybody here, but you know you have birthdays. Something's wrong. That's what I would say. So let's say you had birthdays, but let's say you never added the data to the field to the fields and then never uploaded it. So that means you've got a bunch of contacts that don't have birthdays in reality, but you thought they did. Well, guess what? Now you have to go back in there and do all of that work, right? So I like this little button that tells you, if you search the contacts, it'll tell you what this will go out. And so when you hit schedule, you now know that you set it up correctly. Make sense?
That's great. Yeah.
So that is triggering off the birth date. But if you had other conditions, right? Like where you wanted to, let's say you have preferred communication style and people select they only want to get emails from you, you could save that condition, and we can add another condition, which is, oh, this one doesn't give me the birthdays. Okay, so I'm not going to use this one, but I will use this advanced one, which is going to give me access to all the business rules, all the event dates, right? So I'll have all of that all in one. And then what you can do is you can go all contacts occur every year, and then you can add a condition and find your preferred communication style. And then we go to values. We say emails, add a condition. And then we want to, close that one, condition, preferred communication style, add a condition. And then we can go find the birth date. Is in 10 days. And now we can save and exit. And so with this advanced one, it'll pick from all of your contacts. You are giving it a preferred communication style, only email. You'll have the 10 days in advance, and this will happen once a year. So if you schedule this, essentially it's going to only find the people that the preferred communication style is email, and it's only going to send that out. So that would also help you with if people, right, if you knew what was their preferred communication style, boom, this would be a setting that you can do so that it helps you not to send annoying emails or text messages to people that don't want to receive that kind of information. Make sense? This other one, these two little buttons, these are always good to know. So you can actually check this box, but this is it has the same dynamic as the notification to when these are finished to send you a notification email on the triggering. So this will actually send you an email once this starts, so that you know your action plans are now triggered. So if that's something that needs to trigger you to then review these and stay on top so that you can follow the analytics, well, then that's helpful. But you are going to get all the emails that you set this up on somebody, you're going to get an email. So that could cause you to get a serious amount of emails, FYI. But yes, and then so once you hit scheduling, you'll go to scheduled and you'll basically see here everybody in the future, right? It'll show that. This is going to show you where everybody is running. Since I haven't ever run this one, it's not going to show you anything. But if anybody is in the progress to getting the action plan, it's going to show you the status of. So these would be birthdays. So most likely you'll see just past birthdays and completed. And then you can look at analytics of it to get a good idea. If you needed to pause any of these action plans that are currently running for whatever reason, you could do that. You could stop them all. You can archive any completed ones so that you don't have to look at them anymore. But in a nutshell, this is action plans. I know this is challenging for some people, but why not set up an action plan and send it to yourself and let you see how you get it. See if the times go off appropriately and in a good moment in which you feel, okay, I like the timing of it. And so once you've kind of approved it, then you can ship it out and use it on other people. You can always add me as a contact and send to me stuff. And if I see it and I get it and I see something that is an eyesore, I'll definitely reply back to you and be like, hey, maybe you should think about this. And then if you need help with fixing it, obviously, that's what I'm here for, to help you guys figure that out. And so, yeah, I don't know if there's any questions with what I've showed you. Does everybody feel that they could use an action plan right now?
Yes.
Could you set yourself up one right now and utilize it? If not, then please reach out.
With a little help from my friend.
There you go. There you go. But I know I make it seem simple, and it truly is simple. So
I will tell you all, I'm still a scaredy cat when it comes to action plans and especially automating the action plans, because I just don't want to blow this up and, mess up everybody's, inbox or whatever. So I don't know. I still, it's not that I don't see the value of it. It's not that I don't think I can do it, but I always worry that I'm going to, like even something as simple as that email message, Jeremy, I was like, okay, I need adult supervision here. So I try to do it, but then, I try to have somebody else look at it as well, because,
But how many products that that are like ours that have somebody available for you to go to and make sure that not only do you learn how to do it for yourself?
No, that's why you're stuck with me for life, Jeremy. So
hey,
here we are.
Yeah, no, but I just wanted to highlight that, because as much as I hear you guys have challenges, I also don't see people leverage myself. Now, Kathy, there is a long list of people that leverage me, and I can say to them, for the things that I've taught them, they're, heavily indebted, right? So if you haven't taken that time and reached out to me and said, Jeremy, make this click, then I will literally do everything that I can. You know what I mean? And my schedule is open. You can schedule things in advance. So if you see where you need a week's worth of, I had one lady say to me, I need to get this done in 15 days. If not, I really don't want to do it. And I said, I can't guarantee that I can get it done in 15 days, but if you get into a meeting with me, right, and you take my availability, I will give you that time. And it took us 17 days, but it was 5 to 6 emails a day. And it was an hour session that I would spend with her in the evening, showing her CRM. She created it for 4 different verticals. She's a lawyer. She does insurance. She does that tax relief thing. She does LegalShield. She has all of those different verticals built into her CRM. She's got all of the sales flow for each and every one of those products, and templates, action plans, pre-cancel, everything automated. There's not one thing that she's not using of this system. And after that 17 days, if I've heard from her 4 or 5 different times in the past 6 months. So all I can say is whatever we did during those 17 days, she knows this system extremely well. All I get questions is, this isn't working, because it's not working, and she finds a bug and I fix it, and it's like, here you go. So I wish everybody had that time and would spend that, because she's just getting stuff done. You know what I mean? So, and she uses it for prospecting as well. So like she's totally getting the juice out of the CRM.
Yep.
So
that's
I'll definitely leave that on the table for people to reach out to me, and let's set up some times and let's discuss, right? But yeah, I think we've kicked it pretty good this session. We always kind of get deep dives in the ocean, so I'm glad that
we appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you guys have things that you guys want to send me an email, send me, hey, this is maybe a topic that I'd like to talk about. And if it's valid, which I definitely, think everything is valid, and it's really not a challenge for me to speak hours on stuff. So
Sassy, thank you for raising this topic today. Thank you.
absolutely, absolutely.
Well, I
Um,
just figure if I'm struggling with something, there's a good chance everybody else is scratching their head as well. So,
yeah,
and I think sometimes, the thing that I like about this group is, you know, we're all in different parts of Legal Shield. We're all at different points in our Legal Shield journey, but I think it gives me hope when I, see your success here, or hopefully it gives you hope and confidence that, like, when you hear from somebody like me, that it's like, I don't know how to do all this either, so we're all learning together. And I think that's the value of this community, and Jeremy's adult supervision is invaluable. But there's all that, so I appreciate everybody, because there are certainly lots of people on this call, like Bob, have helped me with things. So it's just, you never know how we're going to be able to help each other. But that's the beauty of taking this time, a little bit of time each week, to continue to learn and grow and share. So appreciate it all.
yeah. I think another strong part of the service that we've kind of like, I guess, created has been these these sessions. And then for the people that don't know, I will drop this in, where is my Vimeo? Fieldnotes Vimeo. This is where you guys can find our videos. These are all of these sessions that we do. I put them together, send them send them off to the developer. He's now been using some different graphics. Ain't that nice? So, but I think we have, oh, he stopped, he removed the dates. Interesting. But we're pretty much, I think, up to date as much as possible. So definitely, when you see stuff, if you can keep that address handy and follow some of these, there's a lot of learning to be had in these little sessions. Because I just kind of go off. Uh, there's like one for hours. Some are short. The other ones are relatively long. But it looks like he's been editing them a bunch. Interesting. I'll have to follow and see what he's doing. Well, everybody, I definitely thank you. It's a pleasure. So yeah, if you guys have any other issues, definitely email me. Love to hear what you guys are working on, and if I can come up with something to help you guys. So you guys have
Thank you, Jeremy.
absolutely.
Jeremy, maybe you could ask him to put the dates back, because sometimes, it's like I make a note, I need to go back and rewatch X. And so if we're looking for it, then we don't know what date it is.
Yeah, I can see some stuff has changed with these videos. I haven't necessarily, because it was obviously, I was under a different impression, but it looks like maybe somebody had given some insight to do something different with the videos to maybe get a little bit more engagement through, the internet. Hopefully grab upon it. You're welcome, Christella. Hopefully you have some time and set up some time with me so we can look at maybe doing a demo. I would love to show you what our CRM can do for you. But yeah, I'll have to open up that can of worms with my team to see what has changed. But yeah, but
Because one of those videos is 9 minutes long. It's like we go longer.
yeah. So
We go longer than 9 minutes.
we have. We've definitely walked in the woods with some of these. So now that I see this, I'm gonna ask what's going on. So I will. I hope that it has to do with our session. Yeah, this is George. All right. Well, I will definitely open up that can of worms and report back. But a lot of content for you guys to cut your teeth on and to take a look at. And so I thank you, everybody. It was a pleasure. You guys have a great holiday, and then I guess Thanksgiving's coming. Get them birds ready.
Thanks, Jeremy.
All righty, everybody. Ciao, ciao.
Thanks again, Jeremy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.